Greetings. Holy shit. I cannot believe it's been I think 2 years, maybe a year and a half. Well, I'm officially back. So, a lot of things have changed since I originally started the podcast and then where I kind of took a break and then just did not come back. Not to mention, so if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome to the podcast. I typically, most of the time, most of my episodes specifically with the podcast is basically supposed to be anything about what is currently going on. Unfortunately, this one's kind of going to mention a couple of things, but I also just think that we're in a very weird time for witches and spiritual people out there. Um, Honestly, since 2020, I honestly laugh. Like, I feel like breaking news has just not stopped, right? But anyways, so it's been crazy for everybody, and a lot of new things have changed. I am officially walking the path of a channeling medium. We're eventually going to have a couple episodes on that where I give out tips that have helped me discover how to kind of process that, right? And how to fully tap into that and to be able to, well, connect to people. Um, so unfortunately, everybody should know at this point that TikTok is here in the United States as it stands right now will be no longer. So obviously the app's still going to be on your phone, like they're not breaking in and just yank. But eventually we won't be able to update it. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because if that is where you found me, make sure you're checking out my other socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, um, YouTube, obviously the podcast. Um, so yeah, it's been a while. A lot of shit has changed in my life. But yeah, so I also wanted to talk about that it's okay to evolve your practice, and especially right now with everything that is currently going on in the world, a lot of practitioners. So there's this interesting shift, and I don't want to get too excuse me. I do not want to get too far into this, but a lot of people are kind of freaking out. So if you have not been on YouTube for a while, there were multiple practitioners that, well, let's just say they found another chapter in their life. And I'm also seeing it where a lot of witches, they are going back to the roots that they were raised from. And no, in this aspect, I'm not technically talking about Appalachian folk magic, which, there are going to be conversations regarding that topic. A lot of people have went back to their Christian roots, and that's not me to say, oh, that's bad, you know. The Bible in itself, and especially the book of Psalms, can be extremely powerful, but again, a lot of people also have trauma in that area. So the next question that I typically get asked is, okay, what happens when you're no longer getting the connection, getting the feel that rituals, spell work, lighting your candles, lighting your all sorts of candles got? What happens when that goes away? And then it means it's time to take a break. Especially right now with like how over consuming of social medias on any platform, and especially because witches have this thing where like we almost feel like if we're not following other witches or constantly consuming things about witchcraft, we're not a witch. And that's bullshit. Everything we do is witchcraft, right? Everything we do has its own aspect of magic, but you can over insert yourself. You can become basically just consumed with it, and it winds up burning you out. And burnout in witchcraft is completely normal. Now, I'm not going to tell you that if you were to put everything down and just be like, yo, I'm taking a 5, and you come back, you're just going to be able to jump back into it. It's going to take, well, it's going to take time, but it is okay. Second question I get, well, Lotus, what happens if I walk away, then I don't come back? Well, I mean, I can't contest to that. I've never done it. I've tried. So many times have I tried. And it honestly seems like it almost is like a reset where if things are starting to feel like they're becoming stagnant in your practice, it means that you need to reevaluate and you need to add something or take something away. Okay, so energy in itself is always flowing, right? And your practice and your journey, for one, it's not about the actual journey, honestly. It's about the experiences that you have along the way. It's about the friends you make during the journey. No, it's about how many times you fuck up and then just restart it. But at the same time, there's this newer movement, and I honestly think it just has to do with social media, and it drives me fucking crazy. And at one point in time, I realized it too, where you'll come across this video and just the person in general and the energy they bring, you can tell they know what they're talking about, right? And for any content creators, any readers out there, you know what I mean. You have to have confidence in what you're saying, because that's just one of the many, many facets that come with that, right? And some people wind up saying, or it basically happens like, oh, okay, well, obviously this witch knows what they're talking about. They've been doing it longer than I. They're confident, and look at all the interactions. Obviously people agree with it. And then what winds up happening without them realizing it is now you just added an excess responsibility on things, on how things should be. In reality, that's not how it is. Yeah, if it resonates with you, great. But we don't need to take that. It's kind of like those, and I've said this in some of my readings before because it's on one of my cards, where when you start looking into superstitions, and then before you realize it, that superstition has become like law. For an example, there's one that I always keep, and I have no fucking idea why. Splitting poles. If me and my partner are out, I've gotten him into the habit, and I'm in the habit, where if we start to split a pole, we will stop and return. Like, we'll redirect that. And I don't even know if it's a true superstition, but I've always heard that if you split a pole, it's bad luck, right? So, thus, that became in it. The amount of times that I've, like, hyperventilated when I was younger, and I broke a mirror. Sorry if you hear any background noise. Thinking that, I was going to get 7 years of bad luck. Do you know where that actually comes from? Mirrors used to be expensive as fuck because it was mirrored silver, like pure silver, right? So back then, if you broke that mirror, it was going to take about 7 years financially to be able to replace it. That's kind of one of the many, many stories that kind of come along with that. Also, by the way, if you are nervous about that, go out and get like a Coca-Cola glass bottle and, air quote, accidentally and or have it somebody shatter it in front of you. Please, dear God, wear good shoes. You don't want cuts on your feet. But that is, for some reason, it like reverses it. But remember, superstitions, it's very funny because superstitions are honestly like tarot and oracle. For the longest time, people tell you, oh, well, once you get a reading, it's just set in stone. That is complete and utter bullshit. What winds up happening is you believe in that reading and or the messages that you got through that reading. So the reason that it comes true is not because it was set in stone. It's because you put so much time and energy into believing that this was going to happen, thus turning it into a self-fulfilling prophecy. The same concept is, it's a very triggering aspect. It's a very triggering thought, which is our words and thoughts shape our reality. Yes, to a degree, it holds a grain. And the reason it holds a grain is because, duh, we're witches. What we speak eventually doesn't always, turn into an existence. But in reality, what we mean by that is saying, hey, you just broke a mirror, so okay, you're trying not to hyperfixate on the 7 years of bad luck, right? But eventually, due to anxiety and maybe ADHD mix, you start to hyperfixate on it, right? You start to cycle, it's what I call it. And it kind of goes into a spiral, right? Or if you've ever gardened a little bit too much and it triggers your anxiety, what winds up happening is fear is triggered. Once fear is triggered, that goes hand in hand with anxiety, right? So then you start this aspect where now, before it was just a thought, a simple thought. Now you put time behind it. Now you put emotion behind it. 3 aspects. And because it's all about your intention. There are some aspects where it is just simply your intention. Other aspects, it's not. So what I mean by this is, don't turn it into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oracle and reading, just like superstition, in some way, shape, or form, is supposed to be a cautionary tale. Just like astrology. If you know for a fact you're about to go to a job interview and you're probably going to get that job because manifestation, but you know that it's during retrograde. By the way, the amount of misinformation and scare tactics around retrogrades is just absolutely fucking phenomenal. Depending on your birth chart, which we're not getting into that, I will have an astrologer on here one day. And also, by the way, astrologers are also different. Like, there's different types and different styles of astrology. Anyways, what winds up happening is they like think, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde, so I do not need to sign this contract. I do not need to sign this job. Could you imagine calling your family or the other important people, your gods and goddesses you work with, and tell them, oh yeah, no, I didn't get the job. Oh, why? Oh, easy. Mercury's in the Gatorade. No, take the damn job. But just know that taking that job, you're probably not, it's not going to be like this great experience. Or for others, it can, right? In other words, these are cautionary aspects of saying, hey, this and this and this is important. Communication with Mercury being in retrograde, which now it's not, it officially went direct the 15th. It means to just be more aware. Tarot and Oracle are the exact same ways as superstitions. In some way, shape, or form, it was a cautionary tale of saying, hey, let's not do this, or hey, let's not do that. Specifically, Oracle and Tarot, they're there to say, hey, if you take this job or if you take this path, here are scenarios that could and could not happen. Do I believe there are certain things that no matter what you do, it's set in stone? To a degree, fuck yeah. But at the same time, we have free will. And on more emphasis on that, we have power because we have faith, right? Witchcraft, if you ever ask me what the terminology of witchcraft is, I'm not going to say, oh, it's a wise person, which it is. No, my definition of witchcraft, it's repetitive work, study, not just into the occult, but the energetic aspect of becoming an energetic alchemist. And I know that's a mouthful. What I mean by this is, what does a witch do? The bare bone basics of witchcraft is, for one, acknowledging that there are energies outside of us. Two, acknowledging that with just the right time and practice, you can take those building particles, or the building blocks of the world, ions and particles, and shift and move them around, or just slightly nudge them to get something to go more in your direction. Does it always work? No. Do I live in a fucking mansion in the middle of bumfuck nowhere woods? I live in the bumfuck middle of nowhere, but I don't live in a mansion, and that's okay too. I did not get into witchcraft to be famous or to get rich. And I'm telling you this now, unless you already have a huge backing, as in you've already got like networking and support and money, don't get into witchcraft to become rich. It's not going to work. Okay? But we have to find the balance of learning something new and not making it a defining brick that'll eventually brick you up into this cute little box, okay? We are all going to meet people that in some way, shape, or form are more acknowledgeable. You can get every single book known to man about witchcraft and the occult and say you uploaded it, put a chip in your head, and straight up downloaded it to you Bluetooth style, right? By the way, if you have not looked into where Bluetooth got its name, please do, especially if you're Norse. Just do it, please. But great, you're a knowledgeable practitioner, right? I believe what makes the practitioner aspect is then this person takes their knowledge and they learn to apply that. They learn how to hold an athame. They learn why you're holding the athame, why you have a chalice. Depending on your path, why each direction is the direction that it is. Why does it have a meaning, right? The same thing with herbs. You can go, or I can go out and get some of the most expensive books on neurosurgery, and I know the application, right? I know the knowledge, but I don't fully understand the application of being able to do neuroscience or neurosurgery. You see what I'm saying? You can be acknowledgeable as you want, but if you don't know how to apply that knowledge to affect the world around you, you're acknowledgeable. That's it. And I'm not saying that takes the power away, but what I've seen with so many practitioners getting lost, especially seedlings and sprouts, by the way, if you're new here, welcome to the family. But we do not use the term baby witch, okay? You're not a baby. Stop degrading yourself. And not to mention, stop putting other people in front of you or above you, all because you just started this journey, okay? You can get 8 different seeds and plant them at the exact same time and give them the same amount of nutrients and grow. They're still going to grow differently. that doesn't mean anything, okay? Because I've been practicing fully around about 21 years, right? I'm 31. Um, I'm not an expert in near no fucking way in any way, shape, or form. But I also have a shit ton of ADHD and I don't have one hyperfixation. And not to mention, a lot of people don't look at this because, again, you randomly come across somebody on socials. I've spent since the age of 11 and 12 researching, consuming, and trying to, like, all these times where people would go out and they'd save up for their, like, dress for the dance, or they would try to do this for anything like that. I would not. Every single amount of money that I could get my hands on and or earn went directly into my practice, whether that was going to the thrift store. By the way, everybody, I started at thrift store. Straight up secondhand shit, some of the most powerful stuff. Cleanse it. Holy shit, cleanse it. Okay? If you go to a secondhand place and you get anything, that shit that's going in your house, cleanse it before you do, because that's how you get a haunted furniture, okay? That's how you get a haunted house. But in general, you don't need to go out and buy all of these things. For an example, well, Lotus, I want to work with crystals. Okay, find 5 to 6 crystals that you would like to work with because you're drawn to it. Research them and get those pieces. Okay? Trust me, don't even start that either because this sounds so weird. Crystals do become an addiction. Okay? My crystal real like collection originally just started with a box from Etsy that was a pound of rough, non-tumbled stones. I like stones rough cut. But in general, and then it just kind of, but knowing that I have all these things, knowing that I have like 15 Oracle decks or Tarot decks, I don't use all of them all at once. You see what I'm saying? And the reason I'm saying this is because that's not important. When I first started, I had 4 books. Before I was able, thanks to a neighbor / mentor of mine, that was able to convince my mom that I'm not allowing Satan in the house, I only had 15 to 25 minutes to use a computer at the local library. And a shit ton of change that I would get when mom would come home. There'd be a bowl off to the side if she didn't throw it in her purse. Because, eventually you're just carrying around a bag full of purse. I mean, a bag full of pennies. I would collect some and I would go and I would print as much as I could off. And I had this little binder. And that was all of my knowledge. Okay, I went from that to 1 year she gave me $100 when she got her income taxes, and we got to go to Barnes and Nobles, and I bought 5 books. Those 5 books, 3 of them I still have, and one of them came with the pentagram that I wear, and unfortunately they don't even make the box set anymore. I'm so pissed off, but in general, that's how I started. And and then the following book, I'll never forget this, I still have the original copy, a Spell a Day Almanac. I still use it to this day. But my type, because I moved a lot, I didn't have a lot of friends until there was this weird area where I got like 6 months off, almost a year before I could actually go back to school. I spent that entire time rewatching all the episodes of Buffy, Charmed, and Angel. Duh. Which also, there's not a bad, I sometimes bitch and complain about the aesthetic, but sometimes, just like other people have said, it is an art, right? Sometimes we need to get in that witchy feeling to be able to think and to realize that we can do magic and be able to pull shit off, right? So it went from that to the Spell a Day Almanac, and then every other amount of money that I would get in, birthdays, Christmas, anything like that, I would be like, look, books, candles, incense. And then through time, I collected the things that I have now. So you will eventually get those. And in fact, we talked about this before in Discord. Yes, we do have a Discord link in bio. And shout out to, I can't think of your screen name, but shout out if you hear this, you know who you are. Try to find your local witchy manifestation store. And you're like, Lotus, what the fuck is that? So thrift store, antique store, secondhand stores, you go there. And if you can do this in your head, unless you want to be talking to walls. Try to connect with the spirit of the place. And you going there, and when you go there, put the intentions out into the building that these are the items that you're looking for. And you going there over and over again and connecting with the spirit of that store, you will find your magical manifestation spot. Which means almost every single time you need something, give it time, it will magically show up there. Okay, it's some of the coolest shit, some of the things you can find there. But yeah, go there. Especially nowadays, witchcraft is more popular, right? Which means a lot of witches eventually, some people may dabble and they get out of it, which means they wind up donating their books. All right. So that's just okay. This is just a preview of how this next season's going to go. I will be reaching out to some people, setting up some interviews again. Eventually, the format is going to change to where there's going to be video, hopefully some live interviews, and so much more. I'm planning on coming back 2025 full steam ahead, and I'm going to use the rest of the year, which literally is like 2 or 3 weeks, to really start amping everything up. So thank you so much. And if you listen to this, do me a favor, if you would. On Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or any other platform, if you listen to this episode, if you use those platforms, after you've listened to this, can you go on one of my random posts and just comment, "Can't wait for 2025." Okay? For one, it shows interaction, and plus it also shows that, people listen, because I know it's been a while and I apologize, but I'm gearing up to come back. The stories that I get to share with y'all, the hopefully guests that we're going to have on is going to be absolutely amazing. But until then, I'm going to keep it short. Hope you're all having a great Yule. We just experienced the full moon. So yeah, and remember, on New Year's, what are we going to do? Not only manifest, we can also leave stuff in 2024, all right? 2025, honestly, I just hope it becomes normal. I want a normal timeline where it does not feel like we've got, like, fucking 25 major movie plots currently going on. But, yeah, thank y'all so much. And again, check out the link tree listed to this. You can find all the other platforms and all the other content. If you would like to book a reading with me, they are now officially recorded readings. I do not do them one-on-one, but I'll do that in another episode. But if you're interested, just send me an email you'd like to book a reading, and I'll walk you through the steps of being added to the list. And yeah, if you haven't already, go subscribe to the YouTube. But until then, I will talk to y'all later.